In this tutorial, we're going to create the drapes that appear around this window. To get started on this, we're going to go to the top view. And in my top view, I'm going to hold down the space bar. I'll go to Create, CV Curve Tool, and I'll go to the Attributes and I'll set it for 2. Now, any of these CV Curve tools that are under Curve Tools is adequate for this, so it really is up to you the choice you want to make with that. And if we were to take a look at the piece that we're actually going to replicate, you'll see that it's got a bit of a scalloped kind of a contour. So that's our objective, to create that first curve that kind of emulates that. So once again, I'll go to Create, CV Curve Tool, and I'll start to draw that shape that I want. And as any instance that we use the curve tool, it's better to add more points than you really think you need, because it's so much easier to delete using the delete key, whereas to add extra points, it's really kind of a task. Alright, so I've got something the way I would like it to be. I'll hit return on the keyboard to set it, and if I wanted to at this point, I could go in and start to edit these if perhaps I wanted this to be a little bit more dramatic. And this can also be altered once we actually have the geometry made. I'll return to my object mode. I've hit Command D to duplicate. And I'm going to go to my perspective view and I'll drag the duplicate path up. Now I want to join these two paths together using the Loft tool, and that's under Surfaces. So I'll Shift Select in either order. I'll hold down the space bar, I'll go to Surfaces, and I'm going to go to Loft, and I'm going to go to the Attributes. Now in the Loft options, I've set the sections to 4. And the higher this number, the more flexibility you'll have with the actual shape. But also there'll be more to edit, so it's one of those things that you'll have to be subjective on the choices you make. I'm going to click Apply, and now I have my basic piece of geometry. So if I want to now, I could start to edit this. I'm going to move this out from our Bezier path, and if I wanted to right now, I could go ahead and delete by type history. Or I could select these now, and if I wanted to, I could even start to edit from there. You can see that we can edit with that. Now I wouldn't go too far with this, because once we right click and we actually go to Control Vertex, you'll see you've got all this geometry to work with. So here's where, again, you just select groups and contour this and edit this the way you want. So I'm going to make this a little bit more gradual coming down. Grab that. And I want to scale this back out this way. So what I'm going to do is I'll hit R on the keyboard, hold down D, and I'll drag the pivot to here. So that when I scale this, the right hand side stays relatively straight for now. That's something that isn't too critical, but you've got these options. It gives you a little bit more, perhaps, quicker results. I'll go down to the next row, and if I hit the down arrow, it'll select the next row for me. And once again, if I wanted to scale that, I would hold down D, put the pivot on the far right hand side, and then tweak it like so. I'm just doing a rough edit. Now at this point, you'll see what the possibilities are. I don't really have to go too much further than that, but once I've kind of got what I want, we'll conclude this. And because it's a NURB, I can just apply my texture, and I don't have to worry about a UV map because it's there by default. So that's the advantage as well in using that NURB surface. It gives you these soft organic contours, and the texture map will behave itself. All right, so if I want to now, maybe if there was a wind blowing through an open window, maybe this would be out like this more. And I'll just use my up arrow, perhaps. Maybe it bellows out in one spot more than the other. Just come up and do it like this. So you've got all kinds of possibilities now once you've got the general shape in there. Now, once I've got the one I want to duplicate it for the other side of a window. I'll center the pivot, and I'm looking for the axis that's parallel to the surface of this curtain. And for me now, that's the X. So I'll hold down the space bar, and I'll go to Edit, Duplicate Special, and I'm going to set it for x-axis -1 next to scale. But before I do that, because I've been editing this, it's a good idea to go to Modify, Freeze Transforms. Now I'll hit Apply, and there's my replica. And that's a pretty straightforward way to make those curtains.